Hello and welcome back to The Critique. Today we're looking at a piece from Voxel Micro Video Labs, The Broker's Edge Part 4, which is all about getting real estate brokers to ditch the generalist approach for what they call hyper-niche video dominance.
Yeah, this one was interesting. The core idea is really strong, but it feels like it's punching a little below its weight, especially given what's happening in the market right now. The framework is solid, but the examples feel almost like they were written in a vacuum.
I completely agree. It's missing that urgency. Okay, so let's get right into the feedback. The whole argument would be so much stronger if it anchored this niche strategy directly to the absolute explosion of defense tech tenants we're seeing in El Segundo.
Right. That's the first big opportunity here. The Voxel material, it uses this hypothetical example, a biotech CEO looking for R&D wet lab space. And I get it. I see why they picked biotech. It's a classic high-value tenant.
Sounds sophisticated.
It does. It's a clean example of a niche, but it feels abstract. It's a what-if scenario, a persona, instead of pointing to the real, concrete demand that's just flooding the market. We're in January 2026. The market isn't whispering about biotech, it's screaming about defense tech.
Okay, so let me play devil's advocate for a second. Why does this specific industry matter so much? If the logic is pick any niche, doesn't biotech work just fine to explain the strategy?
That's a fair question. It comes down to persuasion. You're trying to convince a generalist broker, someone who spent 20 years selling everything, to completely change their business model. You can't just give them a theory.
You need to give them a survival strategy.
Exactly. If they read biotech, they can just say, well, I don't know any biotech CEOs, and, just dismiss it.
So it gives them an emotional.
And out, it lets them off the hook. But if you pivot the whole story to leverage this Silicon Beach tech expansion, you take that excuse away. You're using the news cycle itself to validate the strategy.
Okay, so let's get specific. We're saying replace the biotech CEO with someone ripped right from the headlines.
Absolutely. Look at what's actually happening. Just this week, Robos announced they're opening their U.S. Aerospace and Defense HQ in El Segundo. And then there's Kalis Industries. They just hit unicorn status, over $1 billion. Also right there.
These aren't personas. These are real companies with real money looking for space right now.
Yes. So let's rewrite that search scenario in the article. Instead of a biotech CEO searches for wet labs, that feels a bit passive.
So what's the alternative?
Sharpen it. The text should argue that when the director of ops for a company like Robos searches online, they are not typing real estate agent South Bay into Google.
Right. Because if you do that, you just get a list of residential agents or, someone selling a pizza shop lease.
Exactly. The person at Chaos Industries is searching for specific terms, like Aerospace HQ Site Selection El Segundo, or maybe Defense Tech Industrial Space South Bay. They have very specific problems: security, power loads, zoning.
And if a broker's website just says retail, office, and multifamily, they're basically signaling incompetence for that kind of client.
It sounds harsh, but in this context, yes, it's incompetence. It's like having a brain tumor and going to a walk-in clinic instead of a neurosurgeon. If you're a billion-dollar defense company, you don't hire a broker whose main listing is an old Pizza Hut.
A generalist signals, I dabble.
Right. Whereas a video series on defense tech zoning in El Segundo signals, I understand your mission. It changes the entire conversation. It moves from you should do this to you must do this or you'll be invisible to the biggest players in your own backyard.
It grounds the advice in the now. It makes the Voxel method feel like a survival tool for 2026, not just some marketing tip.
That's it. That's the key.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Let's move on to the second critique, which is really about the scale of this. The piece argues the riches are in the niches, which is great, but it kind of misses the chance to prove that niche doesn't mean small.
Yes, this is a huge psychological barrier. The text uses examples like industrial warehousing in Gardena or cold storage in Carson. And look, those are perfectly fine niches.
But they sound small.
They do. When a broker hears niche, their first fear is smaller market. They think they're going to miss out on 95% of the deals.
It's the FOMO factor. They want to keep all their options open.
Correct. And the draft maybe unintentionally kind of feeds that fear with these modest examples. It almost sounds like a strategy for smaller players, while the big dogs can afford to be generalists.
Right, the piece talks about how specialization protects your fee, your commission, but it doesn't really connect it to unlocking the biggest fees.
That's the distinction. So the suggestion is to go on the offensive with this. Show them that the largest deals happening right now demand the deepest specialization. You can use their own moat concept to explain that these huge, complex deals are naturally protected from fee compression because a generalist literally can't do them.
So how do we prove that? What's the killer example?
You go back to the news. You have to cite the Anduril Industries deal. I mean, they're investing $1 billion into a new 1.18 million square foot campus across Long Beach and Lakewood.
1.18 million square feet. That's staggering.
It's a city within a city, so you have to ask the reader, is a deal like that being handled by some South Bay generalist who also sells duplexes in Torrance?
No chance. The liability alone would be insane.
Forget the liability. Think about the complexity. That's the point the text needs to hammer home. Use Anduril to prove the Voxel premise. The subject matter expert is the one who wins that billion-dollar campus deal because they understand defense manufacturing.
They know about power requirements, hazardous materials, secure perimeters.
All of it, while the generalist is down the street fighting over a 4% commission on a tiny retail lease.
I love that contrast. It flips the small market fear on its head.
Exactly. You're saying the general market is actually the small market. It's crowded with low-value deals. The hyper niche, this defense tech niche, that's where the whales are. If you're a generalist, you are locked out of the Anduril deal by default. You don't even have the vocabulary to be at that table.
That idea of vocabulary connects directly to their concept of the authority curve, right? Proving your expertise before you even meet them.
Right. That curve is steep for a deal like Anduril's. You can't fake it. So the text needs to be blunt. You want a piece of the billion-dollar defense expansion? You better become the undisputed expert, because they're not hiring a generalist.
And that naturally leads to the how, the actual execution.
Which is their micro-series idea.
Okay, let's dig into that. The execution strategy, creating a short video series, is sound. But the example they use, a medical office series, it should be updated to this high-stakes defense tech market. That's how you really show how to eliminate fee compression.
This is where the rubber meets the road. The weakness is just that example. A medical office series about, like, the zoning nightmare explained. It's functional, I guess. It works.
But it's not exciting. It's safe. It's standard commercial real estate.
It is safe. And safe does not motivate someone to make a radical business pivot, to get in front of a camera and risk looking silly. We need to sell the dream. So the suggestion is to replace or at least add a defense tech real estate microseries blueprint. Show them exactly how to apply this method to the most lucrative sector in the market right now.
I can already hear the pushback, though. But I don't know anything about defense tech. Medical offices is so much easier.
That's exactly why the opportunity exists, because it's hard. If it was easy, everyone would do it, and the moat would disappear. The text needs to push the broker to become that expert.
Okay, so let's brainstorm that. Let's map out what that defense tech series actually looks like.
Let's get really concrete. Episode 1. Instead of some boring features of an office, our Episode 1 is Power and Security, What Defense Unicorns Need in El Segundo.
Instantly more compelling. You're speaking directly to the pain points of a company like Robos. They need massive power, and they need their intellectual property to be secure.
You're answering the question that keeps their COO awake at night. Okay, Episode 2. Retrofitting Legacy Industrial for Aerospace Manufacturing.
Oh, that's a good one. Because the South Bay is filled with those old warehouses.
Thousands of them. A generalist just sees a leaky roof. A specialist sees a potential component factory for Anduril or SpaceX. You're teaching landlords how to attract these tenants and showing tenants which buildings have good bones.
So the broker becomes an advisor to property owners, too. It expands their influence.
Precisely. And for Episode 3, for the authority curve piece, the text suggests interviewing an architect. Fine. Let's sharpen that. Let's interview a security consultant about scythes.
A scythe. For our listeners, that's a sensitive, compartmented information facility, right? A secure room.
Correct. It's where classified info is handled. The construction requirements are insane, soundproofing, electronic shielding. If you're a broker who can speak intelligently about building a SIFE, you've just separated yourself from 99.9% of the market.
That's the moat.
That is the moat. If you are the only broker in LA with a video on SIFE construction in leased industrial space, the CEO of a defense startup has no choice but to call you. You're not selling anymore, you're educating.
Which brings it all back to fee compression.
It kills it. Clients do not negotiate fees with the world's leading expert. They just want to know if you have time for them. You're not competing with the guy offering a 4% commission. You're the one holding the treasure map.
Okay, so wrapping this section up, the medical office example is fine for a textbook, but to inspire action in 2026, you have to use the defense tech example. It aligns with the massive wave of capital flowing into the region.
Yes. It makes the Voxel strategy feel like a key that unlocks a very specific, very heavy door that's sitting right in front of them. The news provides the demand, Voxel provides the strategy. They fit together perfectly.
This has been a really productive teardown. We've basically taken a solid theoretical framework and just injected it with the urgency of the current market.
And I think that's the main takeaway. The Voxel strategy is correct. The methodology is spot on. But the writing needs to stop being so polite and start being timely. The market is screaming defense tech, and the content needs to echo that scream.
All right, let's do a quick recap for our listener. The Voxel hyper-niche strategy is completely validated by the current market, but the content needs to be tighter, more timely, to really land the punch.
Right. 3 main actionable points. First, replace the hypothetical biotech examples with robos and chaos industries. That creates immediate urgency. A hypothetical client is easy to ignore. A billion-dollar neighbor is not.
Second,
use the $1 billion Andril campus news to prove that niche equals massive scale. Disprove the fear that specialization limits your income. Show them the biggest checks are written in the most specific niches.
frame the generalist market as the small market.
That's the mental shift. And finally, update the micro-series curriculum. Don't just tell them to make a series, show them one that matters right now. Focus it on defense tech power, security, retrofitting. Show brokers how to capture the highest value clients by answering the hardest questions.
That's a powerful roadmap. To the team at Voxel, your methodology is sound. Your examples just need to grab the reader and wake them up. Use the news to prove your point. We'd love to see a revised draft integrating these real-world hooks. Send it back in when you're ready.
Can't wait to see it. It's going to be a much more persuasive piece of work.
Thanks for listening to The Critique. We'll see you next time.